Have you ever heard of a magician pulling off one of the most audacious bank heists of all time with a worth of $242 million, using nothing but smooth talk and a touch of magic? Meet Foutanga Babani Sissoko, a scammer from Africa who managed to do this. But this is not your typical bank heist with armed robbers. Sissoko has a different definition of robbing a bank. Get ready, because we're diving into the unbelievable true story of the man who used magic to commit a scam. This is one tale that will leave you utterly spellbound. In 1995, a mysterious African man named Foutanga Babani Sissoko arrived in Dubai on a business visa, an unknown face from the small village of Debra in Mali. Little did anyone know that this was the start of an astonishing multi-million-dollar fraud that would operate on an entirely new level. Sissoko wasted no time in setting his unconventional plot into motion. He marched straight into the prestigious Dubai Islamic Bank and insisted on meeting the manager, Muhammad Ayub. How did this stranger with no collateral, resources, or institutional backing manage to even secure a meeting with the top boss of such a powerful bank? Against all banking protocols and norms, Sissoko somehow convinced Ayub to grant him a hefty car loan with zero collateral or verification of income. This seemingly simple request for financing was just his first masterful step through the door. What could possibly make a professional banker willfully violate every standard they're trained to follow? You'll want to hear Sissoko's absurdly brilliant tactic. Sissoko then invited Ayub to his apartment, tantalizingly promising to show him something extraordinary and unique from his culture, a marvel he insisted the banker wouldn't want to miss. Ayub's curiosity got the better of him, and he agreed to the peculiar invitation. But what could possibly have awaited him? What unfolded that evening can only be described as pure, mystical theatrics meets outright deception. Sissoko led Ayub into a dimly lit, smoke-filled room adorned with arcane objects and symbols, proceeding to claim he was a powerful sorcerer capable of doubling any sum of money using black magic and the aforesaid known as jinns. To demonstrate his alleged powers, Sissoko performed an elaborate occult ritual involving chanting in strange tongues, burning pungent incense, choreographed electrical failures and sound effects, crescendoing with a terrifying moment where a man burst into the room shouting about being attacked by a jinn. Just imagine being in that room, watching this otherworldly mystical performance unfold before your eyes. Could any amount of showmanship actually convince you supernatural forces were at play? By the ritual's climax, a clearly rattled but amazed Ayub looked on as the initial 100,000 dirhams he provided had inexplicably doubled to 200,000 in front of his eyes. At this point, was the die cast? Could any rational, skeptical person have walked away still doubting Sissoko's claimed mastery of magic? From that moment on, the banker Ayub was almost certainly under Sissoko's spell, both figuratively through the power of illusion and perhaps literally through unknown supernatural arts. Over the next 3 years, the bank manager executed a staggering 183 separate transfer operations, moving $242 million from the bank's funds into Sissoko's accounts worldwide. Why did Ayub keep enabling these astronomical illegal transfers despite never seeing the promised doubled returns? This remains one of the great unsolved mysteries at the core of this unbelievable saga. Was he truly spellbound and made to believe through Sissoko's trickery, blackmailed or threatened, blinded by greed, harboring hopes of future magic-made riches, or just criminally negligent in his total lack of oversight? Let's pause and consider, if you were that bank manager, having seemingly witnessed real magic transpire, would you continue funneling millions to the sorcerer enabler, or would you report the situation? Regardless of how he rationalized enabling it, Ayub's unlawful compliance allowed Sissoko to go on an epic, no expenses spared spending spree befitting a sultan. He acquired a fleet of private jets, multiple sprawling luxury homes, rare and expensive classic cars, and even married several women to better integrate into American high society. His most peculiar venture? Attempting to launch his own airline named after his village, Daya Air, by purchasing aging Boeing 727 passenger jets. Though the company and its plans for aviation services never truly got off the ground, an airline owned by an alleged criminal profiting from trickery and magic? It boggles the mind. For a time, Sissoko seemed untouchable, a jet-setting multi-millionaire living out his wildest fantasies. He indulged every excessive whim and luxury, from participating in high-stakes, $500,000 jewelry shopping sprees to impulsive philanthropic acts like sponsoring a school marching band's trip to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. He even set himself up as a sort of flamboyant Robin Hood figure, sharing his riches by making substantial cash donations to the impoverished residents of his home Malian village. This helped forge important connections with influential diplomats and community leaders who seemed in awe of his rags-to-riches story. One has to wonder, was there a deeper financial and political strategy behind his apparent compulsive generosity? However, Sissoko's incessant lavish flash and unrestrained spending eventually caught the harsh glare of American federal authorities in 1996. His attempt to purchase decommissioned military helicopters under the stated guise of converting them to air ambulances raised suspicions of unknown illicit motives, ultimately sparking a bribery investigation. This bribery probe led to Sissoko's dramatic arrest in Switzerland on an Interpol warrant, and his first encounter with the legal consequences of his actions. What followed was a roller coaster of court proceedings, including an unprecedented $20 million bail payment, a brief 43-day prison sentence for the helicopter deal's corruption, and Sissoko seemingly confessing guilt in that incident to preemptively halt any deeper investigations into his mountains of shadily acquired wealth. Yet, no amount of legal hurdles, prison stints, or fines could stop Sissoko's charisma, influential connections, and deep pockets from opening important doors and escaping true justice. At one hearing, a staggering number of high-ranking diplomats and dignitaries testified as character witnesses to vouch for his purported virtues and importance. Just how was he able to wield this much soft power and sway over the global elite? Ultimately, Sissoko always seemed to slither free from accountability, aided by his powerful connections and ability to grease any palm. He even returned to Mali in the late 90s as a semi-celebrity folk hero, winning election to parliament in 2002 and securing diplomatic immunity that made him untouchable. With such a lurid and controversial past of alleged fraud, how did he accomplish this baffling redemption arc? However, the tables finally turned on Sissoko by 2014 as his fortune became depleted through excessive spending, forcing him to live out his sunset years in seclusion back in his remote home village of Deya. In a rare public interview, he acknowledged once having a net worth over $400 million at his wealthiest peak, but claimed to have spent it all, laughing off the Dubai bank heist as nothing more than folklore and fantasy. It's a strange paradox. Here was a man who had allegedly defrauded a bank of over $240 million, went on lavish spending sprees with the stolen money, and got arrested for attempting bribery. Yet he managed to cultivate a public image of a larger-than-life philanthropist and dignitary. Part of this perception may have stemmed from his flair for grandiose displays of generosity, like making million-dollar donations to homeless shelters and sponsoring charities. While these acts were funded by his ill-gotten Dubai fortune, they earned him kudos and elite connections in American high society. There are also peculiar anecdotes that speak to Sissoko's power of persuasion and ability to win people over. Like the story of the prison warden in Switzerland who requested delaying Sissoko's extradition for as long as possible, solely because the warden was being treated to exquisite gourmet meals flown in from Paris every night, courtesy of the incarcerated Sissoko. His defense lawyer, Thomas Spencer, recalled being utterly baffled by his client's eccentric antics, like Sissoko gifting Spencer and his team not just one, but 7 brand new luxury cars immediately after being released on bail, all before he had even faced trial and been acquitted. So whether through charm, bribery, or projecting an aura of supreme confidence, it's clear Sissoko had a preternatural ability to make people from all walks of life be drawn into his orbit in service of his schemes. He was a master at ensuring he always had strings to pull and favors to call in. Ultimately, this mastery of persuasion and reputation building may have been his greatest magic power in evading true justice and consequences for the $242 million pocketed from Dubai's Islamic Bank. Even if he couldn't actually conjure endless wealth through sorcery, Sissoko certainly had a Midas touch in getting others to enrich and enable him through trickery and illusion. So was Foutanga Babani Sissoko, truly a rare genius skilled in the art of misdirection and con artistry, managing to pull off a real-life heist rivaling any fiction? Or was there an element of the supernatural and forces beyond our understanding involved, as the disgraced bank manager claimed to the bitter end? Did Sissoko perhaps even delude himself into believing his own mystical persona? We may never know the full, unvarnished truth behind one of the most high-profile, audacious scams in modern history. But one thing is certain: this ever-deepening rabbit hole of magic, mystery, and stratospheric wealth remains utterly spellbinding even decades later. What's your own theory on the methods and motivations of the sorcerer swindler? Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable real-life stories that will blow your mind. I'll see you soon with another jaw-dropping tale.